Typically, when you think of going fast off-road, your initial thought was going something light. But what if I told you you could take a truck this big on the trails and over some loops? So this right here is the F550 with the Buckstop suspension and SDI's e-clik system. And I'm gonna bring in Dan here, the owner of SDI, to give us an overview of what this thing is. But first of all, how did this thing come about, man? This thing is crazy.
It actually started all because of the RVs. The F53 we met Dorian, owner of Buckstop. He does RVs also on the side. And then he's like, hey, can I put this on an F550? Because he's building, $600,000 earth roamers. We've already had one that's gone to Alaska twice with our RV base setting, and those people were happy. Why can't we get that on a fire truck? And here we are. Now, we have a test truck.
I remember when you introduced it to this truck, you said the owner of this truck said, I want to be able to hit the whoops.
Yeah, even was talking about an earth roamer things like how far can we push it? But we had a $600,000 truck, and I'm like, I'm not hitting the test scores with a $600,000 RV. So then it was like, hey, can we get one that would be like a loaded F550? We can push without worried about breaking somebody's stuff.
Yeah, because those vehicles get heavy.
It gets real heavy, and I'm like, if we can test it this way, I'll feel comfortable pushing it without breaking somebody's whole RV. And so Cascade gave us this fire truck basically as just the chassis with a water tank, so we can mimic a truck that is light instead of having all the cabinets and fire gear swinging around. This way, we kind of have an off-road truck that's usable.
Lightweight is a kind of relevant term here, right? Like when you think of off-roading, you think of UTVs, trucks, and stuff like that. You don't think of an F550. The base weight of this empty is like 10,500 pounds, right? It's pretty heavy. With the water tank, plus the suspension, the tires, and all that stuff, what are you approaching? You're like, what?
We're right around 14 right now.
14,000 pounds.
And this truck loaded with the gear and all, they have chainsaws, hoses. They're gonna be about 17 to 18,000, somewhere in there.
What's the maximum weight that this can get to?
This is to 19,000.
19,000 pounds. So if you guys could imagine 19,000 pounds hitting the whoops and maybe doing a jump, maybe.
We'll see.
All right, so let's start off by the tires. I mean, these are what? These are 39s, right?
No, 41.
These are 41?
Really measure it.
Really?
It's that big.
It's
and
huge.
They are heavy. They're over 200 pounds. You don't throw these around.
They're like 12 and a half, right?
Yep.
So they look skinny on this truck. It's crazy.
It's just because it's so big. It's kind of crazy how well they do on the freeway. That's where you think it would be absolutely horrible. I'm pretty impressed with them. Like on the front right now, we're running 75 pounds front and rear because the truck's light, which sometimes they can get down to 65 pounds if it's really light, but up to 85 pounds.
20-inch wheels, but these are forged wheels, right?
Front and rear. It's basically the same rim, they flip it. And so it's a single wheel in the rear, and it can hold this weight capacity. I forget what tests they had to do, but they hook it up to the machine and do the bend test. And like, it's insane how strong these things are. But they get rid of the dual wheels in the back, so you just get better performance.
Yeah, well, better traction too, right? The dual rear wheels are huge.
They're huge, and then if you get in mud or anything, they pack in the center, and then you're floating, where this at least can cut through. And trails and fire roads that they're going on, it just makes so much more sense to have a single wheel.
As far as suspension goes, so this is a kit that's in collaboration with Buckstop Truckwear. You guys are the ones mainly doing the shock.
It's our typical 2.5-inch e-clik shock, halfway between an RV and like what I guess you call a Carly kit. Because Carlys are really aimed for F250s, right? Which just is not enough for a truck this heavy.
F250s are in the 8,000 pound range, so this is about 2,000 pounds, 2,500 pounds more.
And then loaded, it has that much more capacity. So the way that we look at it is the electronic valve, and the way that we did all of that is more set up like an RV, so we have a huge range. And then from RV setting though to F550, we did do a lot of valve changes. RV guys are more on the road most of the time and they're not going to push it. We were asked, can this thing go through whoops? If these guys are going and driving fast down a fire road, can we get them so it doesn't beat them up to death? And that way, if you hit a big hole or a bump or something, you know, you're not blowing through and bottoming so hard.
This is all about comfort, right? Smoothing that ride on the fire roads.
But then it's also about not bottoming and blowing through. We've even been approached by Army vehicle things when they're armored, and they blow through so bad it ends up breaking components because there's really not any performance, high-end performance shocks for this level of truck.
As soon as you start getting into, you know,
450
high carrying,
it just doesn't exist.
It's all just heavy springs and it just punishes you the whole ride.
Yeah, the cool thing about this, so on the front end, it is custom springs, arms, like all of the lift stuff is from Buckstop.
I'm looking at here, right? You have the big trailing arm that they did, right? It's a fabricated trailing arm.
Custom spring, and they also actually, instead of using like a bump stop or an extra shock, they're actually doing it with a sumo spring to help prevent, you know, end stroke spring ramp up in the front. Big thing that they're kind of famous for is their bumpers. Like this bumper is heavy. And so I know it's not part of the suspension, but when you add this big guy on and they can put hoses in there, the winch in there, so you're adding a lot of weight and you can see how far out it is. I think they like it because they can go through brush and it actually protects the front of the truck
and it's got a ton of space in here. Like you could fit a winch and then some in here.
Going back to the suspension, it still is our typical e-clik setup that you'd always see, but it's kind of tuned for this new middle ground. We've had RVs that are 26,000 pounds, 250s, and Dodge Rams that are 8,000 pounds. We had to go and tune this to work. We'll call it the 15,000 pound range. This truck was kind of thrown together just for us to test. As you can see, like the box isn't finished. So I don't know if they even finished the full install on this one.
What's the suspension travel here? Do you know?
I want to say on the front, it is 11 inches. It's right in there.
Wow.
The shock travel. This is different than, it's actually its own custom shock for this lift. It's not like the same as a Carly. It's a little bit shorter of a shock, believe it or not. Compared
to, the heavier you get, the less travel you can do. Right?
Exactly. Well, and it's like a leveling kit shock was too short and like a +4 through Carly or +5.5. There is a lot of little chassis differences. It's not like 1-to-1 like on an F-250. So it is a complete custom shock.
For those of you guys that didn't know, these guys are helping Carly do the F-250s too. So if you want to get that smoother ride on a Carly truck, what do they call the kit with your
E-Venture?
E-Venture.
Yeah,
E-Venture system.
On that for a long time.
It's a really cool setup too. But this takes it to a whole nother level because of the weights you're dealing with. Anything else we want to call out here before we move to the back?
They have some ignition stuff that goes and changes the way the transmission works, changes the, you know, speed. You got to think, these tires are, I think stock is 31.9 and now we're at 41 inches. It's like, so there is a lot of differences, and I know that they have a controller to help do that.
So when they do this kit, it's not just suspension. There's also some reprogramming that has to happen to really manage the power better, right? To be able to, because these are set up for towing. They're not set up for speed.
Actually, surprising how fast and agile this truck really is.
Really?
You're still driving an F550 and getting in it is not easy, but when you're driving around, you kind of forget how big you are.
I bet.
Even on the freeway, it's impressive how this thing handles.
We're here at the back end, and the back end's a little bit different, right? It's a little bit simpler setup than the front.
Spring pack, Buckstop. I don't know what they did or how they did it. That's their specialty.
We'll get a peek at the specs. I think they have a sticker in the back.
Yeah, there you go. Multi-spring pack, kind of like, you know, Deaver type thing. And it really does allow this truck to articulate, and it's surprisingly comfortable in the back for a leaf spring. Maybe just because of all the extra weight. Same thing as we did on the front. It's a 2.5-inch e-clik shock, kind of a hybrid between an RV setup and like what you would have for like an F-250 or something.
Let's talk about the wheel here too, because I think this is pretty cool, right? So this wheel is the same as the front, but it's turned around, right?
Flipped around, but the offset in it goes and allows both wheels to track straight. And then if you get a flat, they have one spare and you're allowed to do it. It makes it really, really simple.
Huge.
And there's no spacers. It's just a really, really, you know, they killed it on this forged wheel.
Man after my own heart, man. I hate when these builds do freaking spacers, because especially with the weights we're talking about here, right? That's like asking for trouble. And to have it just be natively into the hub plus single spare capability, that's just awesome.
Another thing, this truck kind of looks weird. So all we have on it is a water tank full. So instead of
how many gallons?
It is, so 450 on this.
So it's about 3,000 pounds worth of gallons.
Yeah, I think it's like 28, I forget, we did the calculations a while ago. What we wanted to simulate was a truck that was empty. And instead of having all the cabinets on it with an empty tank and stuff, trying to load it to get the weight in it and things bouncing around, we're like, let's just fill up the water tank, replicate the empty truck. And honestly, at first, like our first setup, it wasn't that great in the whoops. We didn't want to beat up everything, so this worked really well. And the idea is when the guys are empty and light, they'll have their normal setup. But as they load it up full of water, full of all their equipment, they can use the e-clik controller, turn up the rear load, and it'll compensate for that.
And this truck is eventually going to get cabinets all the way around, right?
Yeah, cabinets, pump. I know they have special lockers for chainsaws.
Yep.
All their hoses, all of that stuff will be put on.
But it's
here.
still cool, right? I mean, just the skid alone is cool, right? It's got the dual tanks. It looks like this probably has like a 30 some odd gallon tank base. I think that one might be 30 some odd gallons, so total is probably about 60 gallons worth of diesel.
I think the front tank might even be bigger.
Really?
It might, yeah, it is pretty long up there.
That's a lot of fuel.
It's kind of funny, in all of our testing, we filled it to get, you know, the weight up, and then the tank's so big, you barely see the gauge go down.
But this thing is just cool. I know it's a little bit boring back here because from a suspension wise, it's just leaves and shocks. Once this thing gets fully kitted out, it's gonna be really impressive to see in it going down the trails, right? And be going down the trail smooth.
Well, and that's the thing is these trucks are notorious for just giving you a horrible ride. So the whole thing behind this was like, how good can we actually make these? And when the guys are out there, they're not going to get beat to death.
Yeah, and especially, you know, this truck is going to be for hot shots. It's not going to be for regular fighters, right? It's going to be the guys going down the fire roads.
Forestry service, like that.
You know, they're going to be going out there for hours upon end fighting a fire, and to have something smoother for them to come back in is nice.
Well, the condition of all these fire roads, like, you know, some of them like landmines everywhere.
Yeah.
It's absolutely horrible.
So this will be able to get in there much more reliably, and it won't punish them the whole way, which I think is really cool.
Well, and it won't punish all the equipment in the vehicle. Like the whole thing won't be jarring so bad. I think the trucks will probably last longer because they're not getting so beat up.
Yeah. All right, so now let's go ahead and go inside and take a look at how e-clik is integrated in the truck. I don't know how I'm gonna get into this thing. I'm not that flexible.
This is probably the worst thing about this truck. It is not easy to get in. If it didn't have this grab handle, I don't know if I'd make it.
I don't know how I'm gonna get in, man. So this is a lot like how you guys integrate into the Raptors, right?
It's actually the exact same bracket. Same controller interface, everything.
Really?
And with this, instead of like the RV mode having wind and more on-road, we have the same as a Raptor. So the electronic interface is what we would do on the Raptor.
ECU's under the seat too, right?
Yes.
Look at that.
So right now we're on street, but we full on did desert mode, and we also did rock crawling mode. So depending on what kind of roads there are, like when we're pushing in the whoops, we're definitely going to be hitting up desert. Street's going to be the most common, but if you get in a rocky trail, like I always like to use mammoth fire roads because they're just all solid rock, you're going to want to go down to that rock crawling mode. So, you know, your 15, 20 mile an hour type roads. It's a lot less about driver input and a lot more just about vehicle attitude. And if you're rolling down a hill and your front end is low, it's going to stiffen those front shocks. But if you crank the wheel, it's not going to really do much because you're going so slow anyway.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I think we called out last time, right? Your e-clik system does a really good job of trying to keep you guys level throughout the trail, which the stock trucks, even the stock truck with live bulbs, don't really do a good job at doing that.
And you've pointed that out a lot. Like side to side, it's actually really easy to see, but there is a lot of compensation front to rear. Because when you get in whoops and you start getting back and forth, like it's harder to see what the electronics do, but you know what I mean? The whole pitching moment, it really helps settle that and counteracts it to, you know, keep the vehicles more stable.
Seen it with the stock Fords and even the Fox factory truck. Their side-to-side strategy is not great. Not great at all. The only company that does it great stock is the Rams, but those are really, really heavy. And, you know, they get overwhelmed quick. Yours is the only system that I've seen that does a really good job of keeping that truck level through the whoops, through uneven terrain, when you're going fast through it, man.
You know what's funny? We just finally bought a Gen 2 Raptor, completely stock suspension still, and it was like the first thing we noticed was like that. And I hadn't felt it in a long time because we're always driving, obviously, modified Raptors, and yeah, what a difference
That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. A lot of people don't realize how much that helps with your confidence on the trails to have that thing stay level.
Especially throwing it into a corner. You just know where the vehicle is going to be. You can feel the ground better. Confidence and just like the control it gives you, it really helps.
Trust in the vehicle too, that you know what it's going to do. As far as the interior goes, this is just a regular F550,
it's got
right?
Apple CarPlay though.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, right? It's got the F550.
Yeah.
This doesn't have the big fancy screen. It has a smaller screen, but it's got nice interior.
It's not that bad. It's comfortable.
It's a work truck.
It's a work truck, but compared to a work truck 20 years ago, they're getting pretty nice nowadays.
Yeah,
I really don't mind driving this. Right now, getting in, you feel like you're in this monster truck. As you get used to it, the next thing you know, you think you're driving a normal car until you look down at the car beside you and you see their whole roof.
I'm looking at this dismount, man. I may get injured on this thing getting out of it.
I've almost twisted my ankles a few times jumping out of it. You definitely need to be careful.
Well, let's go take it out and feel what it's like on the road next, because I'm interested to see how it improves that.
Perfect.
Let's do it. Okay, I'm not embarrassed to say that I need that to get up on this thing. I'm too short. Oh man, even this, it's still high. So right now we're just mainly gonna try to take it just on the street, just to get the impressions on the street, and then we'll hit dirt afterwards.
So we're in street mode right now.
Right.
We'll go do the S turns and let's jump on the freeway.
Yeah. This thing is really quiet, by the way.
As far as like driving it around right now, like I'm barely stepping on the gas there. It just goes, it shifts smooth. Like you could have this as a daily driver. You kind of forget when you're just here, you're sitting up high, but you kind of forget how big it is.
Yep. Oh, don't. No, that got there we go.
But like, you don't need to slow down for this stuff. It's,
For a 10,000 pound truck, that's pretty nice.
yeah, actually like closer to 14, right?
Oh, that's right, with the water. I always forget
So-
the water. 14,000. So we're gonna go through some S turns.
Yep, so we'll get after it here. Oh, we're already at 40 miles an hour.
Oh, very little body roll, dude. Look at that.
This is just street mode, right? All right, this is 55. 60.
Dude.
Just flat out.
Yeah. I know for a fact that my truck gets more body roll through this. Like a lot more body roll than this is getting through here, man. That is so smooth. You wouldn't be able to do that with the stock suspension on these.
Well, you gotta think, we're in an F550 that we can barely get in. This thing is so high and heavy, and we're driving it like we would a Raptor. We probably do that section going like 65 when we're testing in a Raptor, and we end up hitting 65 no problem. Now, we're not getting up there as fast.
Let's not forget, this is 14,000 pounds, 14,000 pounds right now with the water and everything in there. And for it to get up and go, as well as take that turn with very little body roll, is impressive, man. Without a doubt, it's impressive. And I know some of you guys aren't gonna get it. Some of the people watching this aren't gonna get it. What's the big deal? Drive one of these stock, you'll see what I mean. Drive an RV. I've seen these in RVs. They are so rough. Now freeway test.
So this is our typical California I-15 concrete. So we have all of the slots between each block, and something we're always looking at for, you know, this high speed 70 mile an hour comfort. And you end up getting too much low speed. There's a bunch of things that add to it, but you're feeling like every one. This thing, for how much air we have, and just the mass of these tires, right? The unsprung weight, it's so heavy, and like, you know what I mean? You don't feel anything. It's just floating right now. This is one of my favorite things about this truck, about how well it handles on these roads. It doesn't feel like a big truck at all. It feels more like a car. All right, so that's 75 now. You know, it's
Nice
kind of
and
boring actually, right?
But that's what you want, though. You want boring.
Yeah. The springs right now are really, really matched well, you know, to be able to carry this much weight, but still have this much comfort on the freeways.
I think next, we gotta take this on dirt, see what it can do.
Yeah, it's time to hit some moves.
Yep. Now, before we hit dirt, Dan offered me a test drive so I could get a feel for the driving dynamics of the truck, so I jumped over into the driver's seat to really experience this thing for myself.
Yeah, my whole trick is I lift my leg up here first, then I go like that, because otherwise it's like you gotta literally crawl in there.
Yeah, but you're more flexible than I am, sir. And you got a few inches height on me as well.
Yeah.
All right, so let's give this beast a try. I feel so little in this, man, because it's huge. You can definitely feel the front suspension does quite a bit more to keep this, you know, smooth. The rear is more about the weight capacity, right, than the front. The front's all about the comfort. You kind of see it here too, right? The front's working harder than the rear. It doesn't feel like a giant truck. It really doesn't.
It doesn't, right? Like, it feels like you're just driving a normal, like, F-250 or something.
Like, I know I'm driving a giant truck because I feel little in this thing, but it doesn't feel huge.
And it's not slow. Like, you're moving. Like, you're driving like you would a normal truck.
Go right. I'm gonna try the braking.
Yeah.
See how it handles the braking. See how much nosedive we get. Dude, none.
Yeah, it's pretty boring, huh?
Yeah, but that's good though. Boring is, it's one of the things that I have the hardest time people understanding. Boring is good.
Yeah.
If a clip off-road looks boring, that's awesome. They just don't understand.
Don't let off for this guy. It'll handle it.
It's like nothing was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like these videos that go viral, right? You get all these videos that go viral of people doing dumb stuff, and they look really exciting, but you know people are suffering damage. The cool ones are when it looks boring, when it hits something and it looks like it's not even there. That's what gets me excited. I could care less about the viral crap.
Well, that's what you want for every day, right? Like, that's the whole goal, is it's supposed to suck everything up, but also give you enough confidence so you know where your wheels are at and have that performance and that balance. With electronics, it really does let us cheat, because you can kind of always set it up for, you know, I hate to say it's the best clicker setting for that situation. If you're braking hard, of course you'd want it stiffer. Turning, you can afford a little bit more low speed.
Now, I remember when we drove the Jeep, right, your guys' Jeep, my wife's Jeep was a chore to drive, and e-clik did such a good job of composing the manners that driving was easier on this. I'm wondering if you guys are doing something similar to this, because this is 40s, right? This is 40s, 41s. These are giant freaking tires on this thing. I wonder how the stock steering would be handling with 40s on there. I mean, imagine it'd be a chore to drive around, right? Just staying in the lane. Because this isn't. This is like driving a regular vehicle thing. Because you can see it here on the screen. It's sitting there adjusting. It's sitting there doing everything it can to keep it level. There's no body roll. It's doing a good job. That thing's cool, dude. It's very cool. All right, now before we go on dirt, I got Ken here. If you guys don't recognize him, he's been on a lot of our runs. He has a silver Raptor, but he is also a firefighter. So he's like, you know, these trucks are built for him, right? This is not your truck, obviously, right? But you have a lot of experience with these trucks.
I'm familiar. This is basically looks like it's going to be built into a Type 6. It's obviously got some extra little tidbits from what we typically see here in Southern California.
I just got an overview myself from Dan, the owner. If we look at the back is, there's not much to it, right?
Nope.
What they did is they added the e-clik system and did a heavy duty spring. Obviously the 40, right? I think 39, 40, 41, I think it's the size of the tires. Pretty big tires. With a 20-inch forged wheel. Now what's cool about this wheel is this wheel is the same as the front one. It's just flipped so that you only have to run one wheel. You can carry a single spare and it'll fit all four corners, which is pretty cool.
That'll be nice.
And no spacers.
The spare tires are always great, but at least on the agency side, we never carry spare tires on our trucks.
Really? Why not?
And if we get a flat, then we call for help. And
really?
Yeah, we'll limp them back out if we have to.
Well, this one you could carry a single spare and be good.
Which could be a benefit to them. I mean, it's again, you know, this one's going to be significantly lighter than the truck that I normally work on a Type 3, right? My truck, 4-wheel drive, just like this one, 37,000 pounds GVR.
Wow. So this was not as heavy, right? I think
Nowhere near as heavy.
the base truck is 10,500. Loaded up the way you see it right now, because that tank's actually full, it's at about 14,000 pounds, and full load with gear, when it finally gets the cabinets and everything, this will be 19,000 pounds will be at max weight.
Yeah, well, that's still pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's really heavy. That's really heavy.
And like I told you earlier, I kind of wish it had all the boxes on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be curious how well the boxes hold up with the suspension.
Well,
people are going to want to push it, but
yep.
you're going to start tearing aluminum.
Well, and that's actually what happened, right? Like Dan didn't want to get the truck with the full boxes. They wanted to get it tuned because they didn't want to destroy the boxes either. They wanted to get it to a point where it was riding smooth before they put the boxes on.
Right. Let the end user break it.
Exactly. Let the end user break it. But the back end, very uneventful. I think the bed's really cool, right? But you know the beds. The front end is where it's really cool, right? So the company that's actually doing all the suspension is called Buckstop.
Yep.
Buckstop Truckware. They kind of focus on RVs, and you'll see it's the e-clik shock with a big sumo bump plus the Buckstop's lift kit stuff, which includes the arms, everything needed for the steering and all that stuff. And this thing drives really nice.
Yeah, when you sent me the link, I looked up Buckstop, and it looks like they're trying to get into the Type 6 business, again,
Yep.
based in Oregon. So this truck would probably be great up there. Really interested to see how it would work down here.
I just drove it a little while ago, and it drives really smooth for a giant $14,000 truck. Well, 1,000-pound truck.
That was like $14,000. Yeah.
No, 40,000 pounds. Pound truck.
Pounds.
And I mean, like they even do this bumper, this giant bumper here that can carry hoses and winches and everything. Thing's wild.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna want a winch.
See, and they have yet to kit this out, right? And if you look inside, the integration is basically the same as a Raptor, right? It's just the simple little controller edition, nothing else.
Oh,
And-
for the e-clik stuff?
Yeah, and when you get a chance to drive it, make sure you look over at the display as you're going it, especially when you're stopping, and see how much it compensates to keep it flat. Because this thing has extremely minimal body roll, man. It's really impressive.
Right on. I'm looking forward to it.
You want to drive it?
Sure.
Let's ask Dan. Now, before we hit the actual test course and did some high-speed runs, let's take a look at this suspension articulating. So we went down the road a little bit and found a nice big hole that normally a truck like this would avoid, and just drove on it a few times to see how the truck would do.
Not bad.
Yeah, and so when you get out and look at it, it's actually like deeper than you think.
And honestly, guys, the video does not do this hole any justice. Next, in that same area, we decided to look for something that was similar to a Jeep ramp, so we could really see how much this thing could articulate. Where's the lockers?
There's no locker. I put it in 4 low, but no locker. How does it look?
It looks good. You gotta tell the Buckstop guys she needs lockers.
Yeah.
Hold it there! Hold it there! That looks cool, dude. For those that don't think there's water in there, it's full. Now, overall, this was pretty cool. It's not bad considering the size of the truck. So next, let's go ahead and take this to the actual SDI test course to see what it can really do. Now, quick disclaimer here. You guys are gonna hear that the truck's traction control is not happy and it kept going off. This truck wasn't in its final configuration, right? They just set it up enough so that SDI had the suspension so they can at least go test out. It didn't have its final tune, so there was still a couple things that Buckstop still had to work out, and I'm told that all of that was worked out before the truck was completed. So just wanted to say something before some of you guys freak out in the video about the traction control constantly going off. The final truck, its final configuration, didn't have that issue.
All right, this is a normal thing. We kind of got some mud bog going on here, though, didn't it? It still hasn't dried from all the rains. But in these like deep holes, you do feel the bottom. But you know what I mean? It's like controlled, so at least you're not metal on metal.
It's not bad though.
No, it's like that. And like, you know what I mean? This corner is actually really rough. It's like choppy rough. You can throw it in there, but it's like it goes. Man, we're having our advanced track problem. It's just not. It keeps cutting out and going to limp though. It's so annoying. It's really hard to get up to speed, and then our vehicle speed isn't calibrated right. So we're actually going faster than what we thought in the beginning. Oh, go forward here. So this is that one section where it hit. So you don't remember how rough that was in the Raptor.
Oh yeah.
Raptor's definitely smoother, but you know.
Raptor's less than half the weight of this though.
But it doesn't have 3,000 pounds or 4,000 pounds of butter in it. So I kind of pushing it through here. I don't think anybody's going to drive through holes like this fast. But when you do, and it does bottom, it's like a controlled bottom now instead of just pegging and bouncing off everything.
Right.
You want to give her a whirl, Ken? Why don't you jump over?
Sure. It won't be nearly as fast, but we'll get a shot.
No, you do it, yeah. Whatever you're comfortable with.
I ain't trying to hurt nobody else's truck right now.
Now, I want you guys to kind of pay close attention to how Ken is driving the truck here. He actually got a few laps of the truck on the test course, and you could see him get more comfortable as he goes along.
Definitely need some steps.
Too high for me. I need more than steps. It needs a rope ladder or something, or an elevator. This thing needs an elevator.
If you can't afford it, you gotta wait. All set?
Yeah, you're good.
You made a good point. I think there's a lot of benefit. You don't always have to be riding these things 100%. There's a lot of advantages to kind of overbuilding a little bit. So when you do have those little crap moments, you know you're not sitting on the side of the rope after that.
So it's like, yeah, it doesn't, when these puddles are so full of water, it doesn't give a justice on how deep they are. But I mean, this is probably a 14, yeah. So, but it always feels controlled, I guess, is the main, most important part.
I think if you took that turn like that in a regular F550, it would flip.
Oh man, taking the power away.
So you're at 40, 42, 45.
Back to the rolls again? Or
Yeah, wherever you want.
do it one more time. A little bit faster.
Yeah, this hole's just the nasty one. At least we're getting the water out of it, right?
It's nice and smooth.
Yeah.
I would, night and day difference, obviously, compared to what I'm used to driving or riding in.
How fast do you think you could go through
This?
Yeah.
And my 37,000 pound fire engine,
Yeah.
we'd be crawling through this, obviously, right? Half the speed that here. The softer stuff, you know, we could probably get 20, 25.
Okay.
Look, we're hitting 40, 45. But they're significantly different trucks, too.
Yeah, you're double the weight. Almost more
But
than double.
if you were in a stock one of these, you'd be going just as fast as your big 36,000 pound truck, though, man.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe even slower, too.
Well, again, it's, you know, it's always different, you know, going out, and it's just the fire engines. Our biggest concern is, and I always teach my guys anyways, our biggest concern is actually making it to the fire.
Yeah.
So if we break the truck before we get there, it doesn't do us any good.
No.
This is, I'm amazed at how well it runs, especially considering how much water's back there. I just wanted to get back in, let loose.
As soon as you do, traction control.
I know, it just cuts in instant.
After only about maybe 5 minutes in with the truck, he felt comfortable enough to really start pushing it and exploring the truck's limits.
I could probably spend all day on this stuff.
The truck's performance was very predictable, and his trust in that truck grew very quickly, and he was able to just drive much faster in it, which is a testament to this whole solution and how good it is.
I know, with 10 speed, third isn't what it used to be, is it?
Turbo lag. Now I see why you said just let it drive.
Yeah.
It's smarter than me, apparently.
It's just not, it's definitely not a paddle shifter.
Dude, you notice how when you hit the brakes, how the nose doesn't dive?
Yeah, it feels real composed.
The control is definitely there. That's what I'm telling you, man. Any truck with e-clik has so much better control because of the way your system responds.
Well, what's just crazy about it is that this isn't like a Raptor. It's like so heavy and big, like, and high.
Big truck.
It's impressive, man. Without a doubt, impressive.
Well, I always had it in the back of my mind that RV we could really help, especially with the role, like parking lots and all that other stuff. But then the more and more we did with them, it's like, even though these things are so heavy, it's crazy how capable you can really make them.
It's insane.
We were surprised as soon as we bolted on with the RV setting, which it didn't need a lot of work, but I'm like, wow, this has potential. Like, we can probably really, really wake this thing up.
So what do you think, Ken? You want one of these at work?
At work? See, that would be a rough one. I think there's definitely value in the system coming from a Raptor and stuff like that. I have fun playing off-road and beating the heck out of stuff, so a lot of people don't have that nowadays. So I think there's, I like it. I actually really like it, and it looked great going down, just watching it, and then actually driving it. It feels way better than it even looks, and it looks amazing. So
you should drive it on the street. You should drive it on the street, man.
We have to drive it back to the shop too.
I wish, hopefully this catches on.
It ends up making you feel like it's not that big of a truck, is what my opinion was. It actually, when you step in it, you think you're getting in a monster truck, and when you step out, you're like, wow, it's kind of like a normal truck again.
It feels like a Gen 1.
Well, and it's
really,
it does.
I don't have much time in the Gen 1.
It does. It reminds me a lot of my truck, and at the end of the day, my Raptor's freaking heavy. It's like 7,500 pounds. But
yep.
You think about it, it's it's almost a third the weight of this thing. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
I've been watching your guys' stuff for a while, and you guys work magic. So I think once they get all the nannies cleaned up,
we got to get rid of that traction control.
This thing's badass. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks for coming out. That's super cool. And it's like when Helio went and said, I have a friend that actually does this and drives these kind of trucks. Well, obviously the one you drive is a bit bigger, but I'm like, we need the first hand, like your opinion's what matters.
Not necessarily trucks this size, but I've driven, even just the utility pickup trucks out in Stoddard Valley. And those things, stuff I'm taking it, an easy 40, 50 in my truck, and I'm like, I know I need to go slower, and at 15 miles an hour I'm crawling over these little whoops because the suspension's just trying to bottom out constantly. So this thing would put a regular pickup truck to shame in the configuration we normally run. So
yes, it would.
With all, like I said, it's incredible especially with how much water's back there. A lot of people don't realize how much of a difference that makes, and we were talking on the drive over here, like just the little bit of shift, because it was right off the bat, you could tell, hey, the tank's not baffled, just because of the way it was pushing. We were coming to a stop, so it's I'm beyond impressed, honestly.
It's awesome.
It's super cool.
It's a cool system. Very cool system, Dan. Thank you for inviting us out, man.
Yeah, no, thanks guys. I just thought this is definitely not a normal project for us, and it's cool to have you guys out and check it out. We're gonna try to do actually this whole same platform, because the shocks will fit the F450 lift, because there's not really that many high-end performance shocks for 450s either. So we're trying to work that. We actually just built the first set of shocks and shipped them up to Buckstop, and he should be testing those next week or the week after.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you hear that right, guys? You have no 450. System's coming for you. We want to see those on the Raptor runs here soon, right? Yeah. Right, Ken? Yeah. All right, man, so we finally had a chance to see this thing on dirt. We saw it articulated a little bit. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty impressed with this thing. Considering the weight, considering the size, it's impressive.
Absolutely. Based off the weight and stuff like that, it doesn't, when you're behind the wheel, it doesn't give you even a hint of how heavy it is, unless you're braking.
Yeah.
Then you'll definitely notice it.
And even then, the e-clik system does a really good job of keeping the nosedive from being too pronounced, right? It keeps it pretty flat. It does feel a little bit boring driving it, but that's what makes it so impressive, right? It's really doing a good job of absorbing everything. Its on-road manners are pretty impressive, way less body roll than my truck. And its off-road manners for a truck that size, that heavy, it's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, and it's, you had us go through the S-turns and try and record it or whatever just to see what the reaction was. And I was like, so what's the point of this? Like, are we trying to figure out body roll or what? And there was none. So
exactly, there was none. And that's the point. Great. That's what's so impressive, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to articulate to people because in this situation, for what the truck is doing, boring is impressive.
Absolutely, because we spend days upon weeks upon thousands of miles a year riding around in these things.
Yeah.
So boring is nice because it doesn't beat you up. It does you no good if you're getting beat up just to get there.
Exactly, and I think that's where this solution really sets itself apart, right? It's gonna make it so that if you guys need to, you can get onto the site much quicker, right? You're not going 25, you possibly can go a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
But when you're done or when you're driving around, it's not gonna beat you up when you're exhausted.
Exactly, and if it's not beating you up, then hopefully it's not beating the equipment up either. So,
Exactly.
you know, hopefully they're not having a bunch of failure with the aluminum and you know, other issues that we commonly run into. We're really impressed.
Yeah, and I'm impressed too, guys. I mean, stuff like this is what I really get excited about, right? It's not always just about Raptors. There's a lot of ways to off-road. This thing is really cool. We're gonna start seeing it in the F450s here pretty soon as well. So make sure you guys check that out. And we've been talking to Dan at SDI too. And basically anybody that's a first responder or a veteran can get 10% off year round from SDI. So if you guys wanna get anything from SDI, just call them up, let them know you're a first responder or a veteran, and they'll hook you guys up. So
Super awesome.
yeah, which is super awesome. Dan, any final thoughts, sir?
No. Thanks for coming out, guys. Fun day. A lot
Yeah.
better than being in the office. And,
Definitely a lot better than being in the office. The one last thing is, you were talking about this. We'd love to see that fully kitted out. When it's done, when it's got all its cabinets and everything in there, we'd love to see that, how that looks, and see it on the trails.
It's going back up to Oregon next week to get finished up. So that's the next step on it. They're gonna build that thing all the way out.
Okay, all right. All right, Dan, before I forget, how does somebody get the Buckstop kit?
So they actually have this whole kit. I don't know if it's on their website yet. I know the RV stuff, Earth Roamer is. This we literally just finished developing last week, but it'll be going on their website soon. But call them. They're really good at building complete custom builds. Like they have bumpers, all their stuff. And what they can do then is price out this complete package of everything you need.
So right now they have it for the Earth Roamer, right?
Yeah.
And they're building this kit next.
This was
Right.
next on the list to make more of a sporty model, let's call it.
And they're focusing on other RVs too, right? Not just Earth Roamers?
They'll do F53, like the normal Ford chassis. They do a lot of those kits also.
Okay, so make sure you guys get a hold of them too. We'll put the details
450 will be coming too. That's getting
Yeah.
tested right now.
below. Okay, so
be
as soon
a
as
good
that comes
option.
out, hopefully that comes out here too. We can check it out.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this video, guys. Big thank you to Dan for, again, letting us access to these vehicles. They're working on Gen 3s again with dual live valves here pretty soon. So
Yeah.
hopefully we get to
in the
see that here
works.
soon. And
And
again,
another surprise too.
okay, see?
We just picked up a Gen 2 just so we could do some of our own testing quicker.
So there's more love for the Gen 2 coming too. So like I said, guys, if you guys want to get anything, first responders, veterans, give them a call and they'll hook you guys up. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Questions, comments below, and thanks a lot for watching.